Section 10 of Popular Tales from the Norse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Ted Nugent. Popular Tales from the Norse by Sir George Webb Dasent. Section 10. The Old Dame and Her Hen. Once upon a time there was an old widow who lived far away from the rest of the world, up under a hillside with her 3 daughters. She was so poor that she had no stock but one single hen, which she prized as the apple of her eye. In short, it was always cackling at her heels, and she was always running to look after it. Well, one day, all at once, the hen was missing, and the old wife went out and round the cottage, looking and calling for her hen, but it was gone, and there was no getting it back. So the woman said to her eldest daughter, "You must just go out and see if you can find our hen, for have it back we must, even if we have to fetch it out of the hill." Well, the daughter was ready enough to go, so she set off and walked up and down, and looked and called, but no hen could she find. But all at once, just as she was about to give up the hunt, she heard someone calling out in a cleft in the rock, "Your hen trips inside the hill, your hen trips inside the hill." So she went into the cleft to see what it was, but she had scarce set her foot inside the cleft before she fell through a trapdoor, deep down into a vault underground. When she got to the bottom, she went through many rooms, each finer than the other, but in the innermost room of all, a great ugly man of the hill folk came up to her and asked, "Will you be my sweetheart?" "No, I will not," she said. She wouldn't have him at any price, not she. All she wanted was to get the bow ground again as fast as ever she could, and to look after her hen which was lost. Then the man of the hill got so angry that he took her up and wrung her head off, and threw both the head and trunk down into the cellar. While this was going on, her mother sat at home waiting and waiting, but no daughter came. So after she had waited a bit longer, and neither heard nor saw anything of her daughter, she said to her midmost daughter that she must go out and see after her sister, and she added, "You can just give our hen a call at the same time." Well, the second sister had to get off, and the very same thing befell her. She went about looking and calling, and all at once she, too, heard a voice away in the cleft of the rock, saying, "Your hen trips inside the hill, your hen trips inside the hill." She thought this strange, and went to see what it could be, and so she too fell through the trapdoor, deep down into the vault. There she went from room to room, and in the innermost one, the man of the hill came to her and asked if she would be his sweetheart. No, that she wouldn't. All she wanted was to get the bow ground again and hunt for her hen which was lost. So the man of the hill got so angry and took her up and wrung her head off, and threw both head and trunk down into the cellar. Now the old dame had sat and waited 7 lengths and 7 breadths for her second daughter, and could neither see nor hear anything of her. She said to the youngest, "Now you really must set off and see after your sisters. 'Twas silly to lose the hen, but 'twill be sillier still if you lose both your sisters, and you can give the hen a call at the same time," for the old dame's heart was still set on her hen. Yes, the youngest was ready enough to go, so she walked up and down, wanting for her sisters and calling the hen, but she could neither see nor hear anything of them. So at last she too came up to the cleft in the rock, and heard how something said, "Your hen trips inside the hill, your hen trips inside the hill." She thought this strange, so she too went to see what it was, and found through the trap-door too, deep, deep down into a vault. When she reached the bottom, she went from one room to another, each grander than the other, but she wasn't at all afraid, and took good time to look about her. So, as she was peeping into this and that, she cast her eye on the trap-door into the cellar, and looked down it, and what should she see there but her sisters, who lay dead. She had scarce time to slam the trap-door before the man of the hill came to her and asked, "Will you be my sweetheart?" "With all my heart," answered the girl, for she saw very well how it had gone with her sisters. So, when the man of the hill heard that, she got her the finest clothes in the world. She had only asked for them, or for anything else she had a mind to, and she got what she wanted. So glad was the man of the hill that anyone would be his sweetheart. But when she had been there a little while, she was one day even more doleful and downcast than was her wont. So the man of the hill asked her what was the matter, and why she was in such dumps. "Ah," said the girl, "it's because I can't get home to my mother. She's hard pinched, I know, for meat and drink, and has no one with her." "Well," said the man of the hill, "I can't let you go to see her, but just stuff some meat and drink into a sack, and I will carry it to her." Yes, she would do so, she said, with many thanks. But at the bottom of the sack she stuffed a lot of gold and silver, and afterwards she laid a little food on the top of the gold and silver. Then she told the ogre the sack was ready, but he must be sure not to look into it. So he gave his word he wouldn't, and set off. Now, as the man of the hill walked off, she peeped out after him through a chink in the trap-door, but when he had gone a bit on the way, he said, "This sack is so heavy, I will just see what there is inside it." And so he was about to untie the mouth of the sack, but the girl called out to him, "I see what you are at, I see what you are at." "The deuce you do," said the man of the hill. "Then you must have plaguey sharp eyes in your head, that's all." So he threw the sack over his shoulder, and dared not try to look into it again. When he reached the widow's cottage, he threw the sack in through the cottage door, and said, "Here you have meat and drink from your daughter. She doesn't want for nothing." So when the girl had been in the hill a good bit longer, one day a billy goat fell down the trap-door. "Who sent for you, I should like to know, you long-bearded beast?" said the man of the hill, who was in an awful rage, and with that he whipped up the goat, and wrung his head off, and threw him down into the cellar. "Oh," said the girl, "why did you do that? I might have had the goat to play with down here." "Well," said the man of the hill, "you needn't be so down in the mouth about it, I should think, for I can soon put life into the billy goat again." So saying, he took a flask which hung up against the wall, put the billy goat's